Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into what's shaping up to be a significant weather event across North America. We're tracking the Siberian Express, which is set to bring an intense blast of Arctic air directly from Siberia, plunging temperatures across much of the lower 48. This rare and powerful system will create widespread impacts, including the potential for a major winter storm. There's a lot to unpack, so grab a warm drink and settle in because we're going to cover all the details you need to know to stay informed and prepared. Let's start with where we are now. For those of you in the eastern United States, you've probably noticed it's been colder than usual recently. This trend has been reflected in temperature anomalies with much of the eastern U.S. running below average. Meanwhile, the western third of the country has been experiencing slightly above average temperatures. It's been a stark contrast, and this pattern has played a big role in shaping the precipitation trends we've seen so far this year. Since January 1st, we've observed above average precipitation in certain areas, particularly in Montana, while the plains and parts of the Ohio Valley have also received their share of moisture. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. A lot of this precipitation has been tied to snowfall, but the distribution has been far from even. The primary snow track has been fairly consistent, stretching from the central and southern plains through the Ohio Valley and into the interior Northeast and parts of the Mid-Atlantic. If you're in the Midwest, the Deep South, or the Southeast, you might feel like you've been left out of the action so far. Many of these areas have seen little to no snow this month. However, as we move forward, there's potential for some changes that could bring wintry weather to places that have been missing out. Over the next 24 hours, we've got a ridge of high pressure dominating the heartland of the United States. This ridge is going to bring a brief but welcome warm-up to areas that have been locked in the cold. For example, in the upper Midwest, temperatures tomorrow morning. Friday, January 17th, will start off in the upper 20s to low 30s. While that's still chilly, it's a significant improvement compared to what we've seen recently. Cities like Minneapolis, Omaha, and St. Louis will see lows near freezing to kick off the day. As we head into the afternoon, temperatures will climb even further. Highs will reach the mid-40s in parts of Iowa, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, and Nebraska. The freezing line will push well into the upper Great Lakes region. This warm-up is a great opportunity to get outside and take care of any winter maintenance, like washing the salt off your car, which is especially important for those in areas where road treatments have been heavy. However, not everyone will be basking in the brief warmth. Gusty winds are expected in parts of the Dakotas, the Black Hills region, and as far south as West Texas. Wind gusts could reach 40 to 50 mph in these areas, and higher elevations like northwest Montana and Wyoming might see gusts exceeding 80 mph. These high winds can pose hazards, so make sure to secure any loose outdoor items and stay cautious if you're traveling in these regions. At the same time, winter weather advisories are in effect for parts of eastern North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota, as well as portions of the eastern Ohio Valley. Light snow is expected in these areas, but the accumulations will be minor, with most spots picking up just a dusting to a few inches. As we move into the weekend, the weather takes a dramatic turn. A cold front associated with the Siberian Express will begin to surge southward, bringing a plunge in temperatures across much of the country. This Arctic air mass is no joke. Originating in Siberia, it's set to push into southern Canada and eventually the central and southern United States by Saturday. By Sunday, it will reach all the way to the Gulf Coast, marking one of the most significant cold air intrusions we've seen in years. Temperature anomalies with this system are staggering, with some areas expected to see readings 30 to 50 degrees below normal. High temperatures on Saturday afternoon will barely reach freezing across much of the central U.S., and sub-zero temperatures will dominate the northern plains. By Sunday, the cold intensifies further. Wind chills in Montana, North Dakota, and Minnesota could plummet to 30 def or lower, with some locations seeing values closer to a 50 def. Frostbite becomes a real concern under these conditions, with exposed skin at risk in as little as 10 to 15 minutes. Even the Deep South will feel the chill, with freezing wind chills expected across Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. The cold air will also play a key role in energizing the jet stream, setting the stage for potential winter storms next week. While there's still significant uncertainty in the forecast, both the European and American models suggest the possibility of snow in unusual places. The European model, for example, shows snow extending as far south as Houston, Texas, and even into parts of North Florida. Cities like Jacksonville and Tallahassee could see ice accumulation if this scenario plays out. Meanwhile, the American GFS model places the snow track further north, targeting the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and interior Northeast with heavier snowfall. The discrepancies between the models highlight the challenges of forecasting this complex system. While the exact details remain uncertain, the combination of extreme cold and active weather will undoubtedly create significant impacts. Whether it's snow in Texas or a full-blown winter storm in the Northeast, next week is shaping up to be an active one for weather enthusiasts and those living in the affected areas. Looking ahead, the cold air will dominate through the middle of next week, with wind chills staying dangerously low in many regions. If you're planning any outdoor activities or travel for Martin Luther King Day, be sure to bundle up and take precautions against the extreme cold. For those of you in areas expecting snow or ice, stay updated on the latest forecasts and prepare for possible disruptions. Meanwhile, out in the Pacific, we have a stream of moisture heading toward Texas. At this point, it's mostly just increasing cloud cover, but it's a precursor to the much bigger changes we'll be experiencing over the weekend and into next week. Down in Florida, we're also seeing some scattered showers and even a few thunderstorms. Those storms should clear out by Friday, leaving behind drier conditions, but the warm weather in the southeast won't last long as the Arctic air surges south. Now, the main headline is the Arctic blast that's about to descend into the United States. This is a significant and unusually strong event that's going to impact nearly the entire country east of the Rockies. Starting late Saturday, a massive pocket of cold air will begin spilling southward from Canada, driven by a sharp dip in the polar jet stream. By Sunday morning, temperatures in the northern plains will drop well below zero, and wind chills in some areas could reach an absolutely brutal 50 degrees below zero. That's the kind of cold that can cause frostbite in just minutes, so if you're in these areas, it's critical to prepare now. As the cold air continues to push southward, it's going to reach parts of the deep south and Gulf Coast by Monday and Tuesday. This means places like Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi will see freezing temperatures, and even Florida isn't going to escape the chill. We're talking about a truly widespread Arctic outbreak, one that will set the stage for some unusual and potentially disruptive winter weather in the southern United States. Now let's get into the details of the winter storms we're expecting. The first system is set to develop over the Ohio Valley and Northeast this weekend. While this won't be a blockbuster storm, it will still bring light to moderate snowfall to the region. Most areas will see accumulations of 1 to 5 inches, with higher totals possible in the mountains. The snowfall will move quickly, so it's not expected to linger long enough to cause major disruptions, but it's definitely something to be aware of if you have travel plans in the region. The second storm, however, is where things get really interesting. Early next week, as the Arctic air settles in, we're watching for the potential development of a winter weather system in the southern plains and Gulf Coast. Models are hinting at the possibility of snow, freezing rain, or sleet in areas that rarely see winter weather, including Texas, Louisiana, and even parts of Florida. The exact details are still uncertain. It's going to depend on how much moisture is available and how it interacts with the cold air, but this is definitely a scenario worth watching closely. Here's my tie. I think we'll see some form of winter weather in the deep south early next week, but it may not be as widespread or intense as some of the more aggressive model scenarios. That said, even a light coating of ice or snow can cause significant disruptions in areas that aren't used to dealing with winter weather. If you're in the southern United States, now is the time to start thinking about how you'll prepare for the possibility of icy roads, power outages, and other challenges. Beyond the storms, the cold air itself is going to be a major story. By Sunday, temperatures in the Midwest and northern plains will be dangerously low, with some areas dropping as much as 25 to 30 degrees below zero. As the Arctic air spreads eastward, the Ohio Valley Northeast and even parts of the Southeast will see some of the coldest temperatures of the season. By Monday and Tuesday, freezing temperatures will reach all the way to the Gulf Coast, and wind chills will make it feel even colder. This cold snap isn't going to let up quickly either. While temperatures may moderate slightly by the middle of next week, another surge of Arctic air is already showing up in the models for next weekend. This means January is likely to go down as one of the coldest in recent memory for much of the United States. So what should you do to prepare? If you're in the Ohio Valley or Northeast, get ready for some snow this weekend. It's not going to be a blockbuster storm, but it could still cause slippery roads and travel delays. If you're in the Southern Plains or Gulf Coast, start thinking about how you'll handle the possibility of winter weather early next week. And no matter where you are, make sure you're ready for the cold. Check your heating systems, protect your pipes, and make sure you have plenty of warm clothing and blankets on hand. Thanks so much for tuning into today's forecast. Stay safe, stay warm, and I'll see you in the next update.